for those lower owned players, for those cheaper guys, what do you look for when you're taking a stand on them? And again, with SaberSim, it's going to kind of point you in the right direction. But fundamentally, what types of qualities are you looking for in those people who might not be as popular for taking a stand on them? You guys want to touch this one?
I thought I was going to let you take this, Andy. I was just thinking, upside.
Oh,
right. You want. It's like
I had no idea what you're doing. I thought
I was like, what? Do you want me to look higher or something?
No. I was saying that when you're taking a stand on a low end player, it's like why you like any player in any sport. If you're talking about speed prize tournament, is they have high upside, right? You want players that can have a big game. So if you're playing a lower owned player, these are going to be the guys whose average projection does not match their upside. People think, oh, this person on average is going to do this, but they have a big game in them, right? Or, I mean, maybe they're going to be underrated for other factors, but that's what you're looking for is you're saying, okay, for some specific reason, I think this player has higher upside than people think. And maybe SaberSim is saying that too. So those are going to be the players where I'm saying, okay, I think this player can have a big game. And that's why I'm taking a stand on him. It's not because I think his average projection is high. I think his upside is really high.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I'm just surprised. I kind of let SaberSim build my lineups or let the builder build my lineups based on whatever projections he's using. And sometimes I'm just surprised at who I'm using. A lot of times the best low-end plays are just going to be guys who are really practical. Like, you don't necessarily have to have the most genius idea in the world to have a good low-end play. Like, you just have to. Sometimes someone just really practical is getting very overlooked for some reason, and it may not be why. I mean, someone in like a really bad matchup, for example, they could still do really well, or there's many different reasons why someone could be low on but still be worth playing. But often I don't know who I'm taking a stand on until I use the SaberSim lineup builder and see who's actually showing up in my lineups.
And I guess on that note, what are you looking at when you do see someone surprising in there? Like you're getting a ton of a specific player, because that definitely does happen. It does happen more often in SaberSim than a traditional optimizer, where we are just going to be out of the box super heavy on a couple of guys that just seem out of nowhere. What questions are you asking yourself? What sort of things are you looking into? What are you guys doing in those situations to evaluate whether or not something's wrong with the model, or maybe we're onto something?
Right. I'm looking at their projection and their ownership projection, because you're saying, okay, is this person's? I mean, definitely you don't want to take it at face value, because maybe their projection is too high, or maybe their ownership projection is too low, right? So you want to question whether it's the correct play, but you don't want to question whether it's the correct play if you check the projection, you check the ownership, it looks very.
It all checks out.
It all checks out. You're using the proper sliders. Like, if that's all the case, that just means that player is a good play. It doesn't mean that you should try to get less of him, like lower his max exposure. It just means he's projected right, his ownership projections right, and there's a reason you're getting him, and he's probably going to be a very profitable play if he's in fact projected to be really low.
Yeah, I think a lot of times you're able to understand it. Like, I'll look through my projections and be like, oh, this guy is going to be high owned, but I'm getting a lot of this guy, and he's actually just a little lower projected and is supposed to be way, way lower owned. So that makes a lot of sense. Or maybe, oh, you know what? This is a leverage off of some very popular on play, and that's why it's doing it. Sometimes when I'm using SaberSim's builder, you get that sort of outcome where, it's leveraging out of some high owned player having a bad game in some way.
Yeah, and I think you guys both touched on this a lot more in kind of the videos you did on the quality control, the third step of the lineup building process for basketball and football, where you just talk about what to look out for. But just to emphasize some of that here, it's just looking at those outliers, where it's looking at the people who you're getting way more of than you expected. It's checking to make sure their ownership and their projections are in line. But going further, you can also click on their name in SaberSim, bring up the distribution of their outcomes, and you can see the correlations and see if maybe we have them correlated to someone else who is in a lot of your lineups positively, or they're negatively correlated to someone who is going to be highly owned, or whatever it may be. There's a lot of things you can look into, but those are the types of players to check out when you're in that kind of quality control phase. And you can do the same thing for, oh, I really thought I would have whoever it may be in my lineup, so I'm not getting him at all. You can hit the show all players box and then see him and just kind of dig into why that may be. Maybe there's someone else who's similar projection, cheaper, whatever it might be. There's a lot in there, and it can be confusing because it can seem like a bit more of a black box than traditional tools. And so that's why we always try to recommend is digging into it, looking at all the data as best you can. But when you have those specific questions, you can always shoot us an email, reach out to us in Slack, and we're happy to kind of help diagnose those things. But hopefully this gives you a good idea of what to look for in most situations.